Okay, good morning, Year 7. Today we are going to go through drawing your C02 car design using Tinkercad. So right now on the screen you can see the home screen to Tinkercad once you've logged in. And we are going to go and click on this Create button, and we're going to create a new 3D design. Now, once you have gone into this page now, or onto this interface, rather than designing the C02 car from scratch, you are going to use the model that has been uploaded on Canva as the base for your C02 car. Okay, so we're going to import that model, which is the Balsa Blank STL that you would have or can download onto your desktop or into your downloads. We are going to open that. We're going to make sure that we have selected millimeters because we're in Australia and we use millimeters to measure. And you're going to import that model onto your workspace. So this is what the C02 car Balsa Blank will look like, or the piece of timber will look like when you start designing your C02 car. Now, a few things about Tinkercad. Just so that you're very clear, on the left hand side at the top here you can see the different views that you might want to use to look at your model. If you ever want to go back to the beginning, just press the home button. If you ever want to make sure that you can see your whole model, click on this framing button here and it will bring the whole image into focus. If you want to zoom in, you can do it like that. The only other thing I would say is when you're drawing on Fusion, we've got this button here that will show you something as a perspective drawing, or what it would look like in the real world. When we're drawing, we want to go to this version here, which is called orthographic. Okay, so we get rid of the perspective, and now if I look at it from the side, I'm looking at it exactly dead on. Okay, so I can do really accurate drawings with it now. You can also see at the back that I've already put a hole in the back of this model. This is where the C02 canister will go into your race car, and this will help us when you're designing your race car to not cut out that space there, so that we've always got the housing hole for the C02 canister. Now, with this particular activity today, where you're going to create the view or the model of your C02 car, it's going to be just a few basic steps. So you should have your drawing of your final design with you. And what we're going to do is we're going to come up to the right hand side here where we've got this workplane tool. You are going to click on that or drag that, and we want to drag that to this side view here. Okay, and we're just going to place it in the middle, and that is going to allow us to now draw on this plane over here. Okay, so we're going to click on that workplane tool, and we are going to go into that front view so that we can start drawing straight onto that space. Now, in Tinkercad, you can see that when we're building, we've got a number of different shapes that we are working with. You can create boxes, you can create spheres, cylinders, etc. But to actually create a shape that you want, we need to select this sketching tool, and we're going to drag that across and place that onto our work plane. And once we've done that, if we frame it so that we can zoom out, we can see now that on this work plane that we've created, we can draw whatever we want. And you can also see that housing hole that we created for our C02 canister. So whatever we draw, we don't want it to cut out this shape here. Okay, so to create this shape that we want, we're going to really just use two buttons. Our first button is the line tool, and our second button is it's a curve tool, essentially. Okay, so if I wanted to create a shape or using sharp lines, I would just click on my starting point and keep clicking onto the design to create the shape that I wanted. So let's say I wanted to create a C02 car that looked like that. It isn't particularly organic. you could argue that it's not very aerodynamic, but maybe you want something that looks very sharp, you could do a design like that. Okay, now just having a shape like this isn't going to help us though with our design. What we need to do, because we want to cut essentially everything that is on the outside of this shape away. So what I'm going to show you is just a little technique to get rid of all of this material. So I'm just going to now create a shape outside of that box, and you can see once I've joined it up completely, it goes blue. Okay, so I've created my shape, you can see here. Okay, all of the material on the timber that I want to keep, you can see is still orange, and all this material that I want to cut away is now blue. Okay, if I finish my sketch, I've now got this shape that is built onto the top of my CO2 canister. In this sketch though, it can be a solid design, so I can make it something that's 3D, or I can use it as a whole design to cut away material, and that's what I want to do. I don't want it to be solid. I don't want to add on to my design. I want it to cut away from my design. So by clicking this button here, you can see that I can drag that shape across, and because it's see-through, that means that I'm actually cutting away my design. Okay, so if I was to select that and I look at it from the side, that is telling me that it wants to cut that material away. In order to cut that material away though, I also need to, so right now I'm just selecting that material that I'm cutting away. If I hold down Shift, I also want to select the CO2 canister shape that I initially started with. And once you've selected that, where it says shape, you see that the number 2 has gone there. Okay, and now it's gone, now it's back. So I keep pressing, selecting and deselecting it. I want to select both of those shapes, and then I'm going to click this button here, which is called a union group. And what that's going to do is going to join those two shapes together. It's going to join the material that I've created, or the shape of that CO2 canister, with this shape that I want to cut away. And when I select that, you can see now that he has created that shape for my CO2 car, and it's taken away all that material that I don't want. Now that's a very basic way of doing it, just with straight lines. I'm going to reverse this, and we are going to try this again. And this time we want to use curves as well to make it a little bit aerodynamic. So I'm going to select my sketch button again. I'm going to drag it onto this work plane that I created. I'm going to zoom out so that I can see everything. And now I've got my curve tool. Now this is going to take some practice from you to learn how to use this curve tool properly. So normally, or what will happen is I will click on where I want to start my curve. I will click on where I want to end my curve. Sorry, let me do that again. I made a mistake there. I will click on where I want to start my curve. Hold down. If I hold down Shift, it actually makes it straight, whether I'm going sideways or up. Just start that again. Using my curve tool. Clicking where I want to start. I'm going to click on where I want to end, but rather than just clicking, I'm going to hold it down, and then I can actually start playing around with the shape that I want to create. So the more that I pull this orange lever, the longer the curve is going to get, the less straight it is going to be. So if I want to do just a very short curve, I'm just pulling the lever a little bit, and you can see that it's quite a short curve. If I want to do a really curvy and deep shape, so if I want to do something like the front of an F1 car, I can really drag it and pull it down. So I'm going to start with that shape there. You can see here that automatically it wants to create another curved shape. Okay, so maybe I want my curve to then finish off over here. So I can click here, I can hold it down, and I can adjust that shape. I'm always trying to keep it within the material that I'm cutting, and I've got that there. Okay. If I ever want to go between a curved shape and a straight line, while it's still on this curve feature, I can just click on the straight line and it will allow me to do a straight line as well. And I need that now to again do that boxing feature that encloses this shape that I've drawn with the curves now. So again, now it's gone blue. That means that I can use that to cut out the shape that I want for my C02 car. So we're going to do that. We're going to finish our sketch. Again, we want it to be a whole shape. That's it. I need to pull it all the way through. So I need to click on this. And I want to pull that 50 through. Even 40, so it's more than 40. Let's go 42, I think it is. Great. I need to hold down shift so I can select both. Now I've got my two shapes. I'm going to do my union. And now that it has become the rounded C02 shape. Now let's say I wanted to do something down here as well. I can go back, create a new sketch now. Back on that work plane, I'm creating a new sketch. And maybe now I want to do something on the bottom of this design. I can come back now. Let's put a curve in at the bottom. Make sure we're holding down shift. And you can now do something there if you want as well. And even here, the only thing about this is because it's a curve on another curve, because they're so close together, you might not actually get what you want. So you might just have to go out of that. I'm going to undo that one. And the only thing you can see is if I don't finish that drawing, then I can't use it anymore. So I'm just going to have to go back and redo that. So I'll try that curve again. Holding down to create the shape that I want. And I just want this not to be deeper than the actual design itself. It's actually going to be very hard to do because you can see down here it's actually going lower than the timber. So maybe what I need to do now is put that curve a little bit higher when I start it, and then it won't be as low when I do it. So I'm just going to go backwards, press escape, Control Z, which is a backward step, and let's just try what we've learnt there now. So I'm going to click on that, hold it down here. Again, it's not going to be off the board now. Do my curve, end it up here. There we go. And now I can actually drop it all the way to the bottom of my design. Like you can see there. I'm going to go do my line tool now because I need to box this still. Take it off the drawing like that. And now I can finish my sketch. I want it to be the whole shape again. I'm going to go 2D view, looking at it from the front or from the left. And I'm going to pull it again all the way through. So if I just type in -42, it will make it go the opposite way. Because if positive is that way, minus is that way. It's a 42mm thick piece of timber. I hold that down, or I've already got that selected. I press shift and select the other piece as well. I've got my two shapes I can see there. I do a union. Now, I've got the shape that I want for my C02 car, or the shape that you're going to create. And if I look at the back, there is still the housing hole for my C02 car. So this is how we create a model of our C02 car using CAD. And if you then wanted to 3D print your design, okay, you could do that. Okay, so it's just a very easy way to play around with this technology. The other thing you could do, just very quickly then, let's say you wanted to change the view from the top of your car. You wanted to make the shape a little bit more sharp. Let's do another work plane. We're going to do the work plane from the bottom plane, and I'm going to do a sketch from that plane. So now I'm looking at the car from above. Let's say I wanted to do something here with my design. Okay, so let's say I want to start it here. I want to be starting from, so again, I'm just going to bring my work plane. I'm going to draw onto that bottom plane. Maybe I want to round the front of my car, make it pointy. If I start there, finish there, hold down Shift. Now I've got a pointy shape on my car. Again, I would need to box that. Okay, I'm going to finish that sketch. You can see that it's on the bottom. Again, I want it to be a hole because I'm cutting, and I'm going to just pull it up so it goes to the top of my car. I'm going to look at it from 3D. I'm going to hold Shift as well to select my car. So then I can do a union. And now I've got a rounded front of my car. So we're going to do this one more time just to maybe sculpt the sides of the car as well to make it more aerodynamic. Again, just using my sketch tool, selecting the work plane. Maybe I want to do a curve on the side of the car. I keep forgetting to hold it down. So I need to click, let go, hold down, and then I can do my curve shape. And I'm trying to create something that's going to be symmetrical on both sides. Okay, so I have to do it on one side first. Now, what I'm going to try to do, I don't know if it's going to work, I'm going to try to mirror that. So let's finish this sketch. Oh, where did that go? Look at it from the top. Okay, I can see it there. I want it to be a hole shape. I'm going to select this as well. I want to mirror that. So you can see I can change the side that I'm doing that on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it into a hole. Okay, 1 second. Because I don't want my car to be a hole, I want that to be solid. I just want this to be a hole. I'm going to pull that up. And you see when I mirror it, it's actually just changing the way that the design goes, which I don't want. So let's just flip that over. Back to what I wanted. Hold down Shift to select both of those pieces. And I'm going to do another union there. And you can see that now that's been cut away too. And if I wanted to do that again, I would go on the sketch and I can then draw that on the other side as well. So I'm just going to be really accurate to try to make sure I'm doing it at the same spot. On the other side, click, hold down, and then I'm going to try to replicate that on the other side. And I'm just looking at how deep it goes in here, and then I'm trying to do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to close that off, finish my sketch. bring it back home. I want it to be a hole or a cut. That's not what I want. Let's bring that up. Hold down Shift to select my design. Do my union. And now I've got a very well sculpted shape of my C02 car. Okay, so if I was to just rotate now, I can see what my car would look like. Okay, just by using the workplane tool and the sketching tool. Okay, so you're going to now do the same thing with your own design. So good luck. Hope you have fun. And once you've finished it, you are going to firstly save it. So it gives Tinkercad gives you a weird name. You just want to call it your name. So Mr. Bahaja for me. And we're going to call it C02 Car Design. And because this is a cloud storage system, once you have created it, it will always be now on your Fusion account unless you were to manually delete it, which obviously we don't want you to do. So good luck.